Hello and welcome to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. We're your hosts. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Sean.
And we're glad you're here. For the next 15 minutes, we'll talk about a sales issue, big and small, for salespeople, sales leaders, and selling situations. We're glad you're here, and let's get started. Welcome back to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. This is part 2, where we're joined by Tim Warren, CEO of Helium SEO. Last week, we ended with somewhat of a cliffhanger. We're going to dive back into that topic here in a minute. If this is the first time you've listened to us, we're glad you're here. This is a 15-minute podcast where we talk about problems that we've seen and how we've solved them so you can benefit. Tim, glad to have you back this week. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you having me back on.
I want to dig into that question we left as a cliffhanger last time. But what is the role of a CEO when you're helping clients or prospects with an existing salesperson? Not you selling independently, but when there's a challenge, a problem, or an opportunity, what's your role as a CEO in a scaled sales environment?
It's a great question. I'll answer that in 2 parts because I can give more detail of the problem I'm having to jump in and solve and how you can scale through that using it as coaching opportunities, and then where I play in terms of the sales environment for my team. I break that into 2 answers. There's 2 different things in my opinion. So before I jumped on the podcast last week, I was dealing with a situation where there was an account manager who had not provided the level of service they needed to provide. And so the client was feeling that the service level had dropped from what it had been historically. I didn't know about this. I'm hearing about it for the first time. And so I'll give you my quick cheat sheet of, as a CEO or a business owner, we teach our AMs this, we teach our salespeople this, is how do you deal with someone who's frustrated? How do you handle it, turn it around? Because that's kind of my first answer to you, Kevin, would be, it doesn't matter if it's me as the CEO or if it's the most junior account person. I teach them the same thing. I teach them the exact way I do it because there's always a process. My process is, number 1, be very open and honest and transparent. If we screwed it up, admit we screwed it up. Don't deflect, don't pass blame. Just go in and apologize. Leaders apologize for things that are not their fault. If you are the leader, you will apologize and take ownership. Doesn't matter whose fault. It wasn't my fault the account manager screwed the pooch on this. But somewhere in my organization, this person was hired, and that person did a bad job. So it's not my fault, but it's my problem, my responsibility. I try to teach my team, just take the responsibility. It's not your fault, but make it your problem. Just step up and take responsibility. One of our core values at Helium is, if it is to be, it's up to me. It's not up to Kevin. It's not up to Sean. It's not up to Tim. It's up to you. To have the buck stop with you, that's where you become a leader. And guess where leaders go in organizations? They move up. If you don't take leadership, you won't move up because we will see that. And we'll say that person is not ready to own and lead and take ownership. So leaders take ownership no matter what your title is. I came to the table and said, hey, we did this wrong. I apologize. Can you give us one more chance to rebuild the trust? And here's now what we need to do. The strategy I tell my team is, come to the table, apologize for the issue, and then don't say, I'm sorry, we'll see what happens. You say, I'm sorry, then here's what we're going to do immediately. Always have a plan, right? I'm sorry we screwed this up, but here's what we're going to do to fix it. You always have to have a plan. So either you got to be good at coming up with plans on the fly, or your team needs to talk ahead of time and say, we screwed it up. What went wrong? What are we going to do to make it right? What's the exact strategy? Because you come back with an exact plan, the client's much more likely to give you a chance to fix it with that plan. So that's the strategy we take. So for my role as a CEO, I have the ability to apologize on behalf of the whole organization. I can do that as CEO. But what I want to do in the process, guys, is I want to show my team and not say, you can't do this, let me get involved. I never want to do that. What I want to do is I want to say, watch me go show you how to do it. You can handle the next one. I'm going to do this one, and then you're going to do the next one. I'm going to watch, and then I will stop coming to the thing when I see that you got this now. You can handle this. You're fine. Then I don't need to come, and then you can handle it. And then now you can train someone else how to do it. And that's how we scale. So that's the answer to that question. On the sales team side for the CEO, I think CEOs should function in 3 to 4 capacities. Number 1, you should be the chief culture officer. So you should be making sure that the culture of the organization you're building is the culture you want to see for your team. Number 2, you're the architect of the team. So you're not hiring and training everybody. but you're architecting the vision of the team that you need. I need marketing at this level. I need sales at this size. I need operations here. I need this. What roles does your company need and positions? Architecting the whole team. You might only be hiring the executives in your company, but then those executives are hiring the people below them. So you are the master to make sure the architecture looks correct. You need to have the blueprint of the organization. Number 3, you need to be involved in selling big deals. The big clients want to talk to you. They want to talk to the CEO. They want to talk to the owner. They want to know they have executive sponsorship at the highest level. They're spending a lot of dollars. You're going to need to be involved there. I don't get involved that often. Usually I will for very large clients, but for $250,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 clients, I oftentimes don't sell those and don't need to be involved, which is great. We're at that position now where we have great salespeople and executives, but I could be involved there. That's a good thing to be. I used to be more when we were smaller, but now it's like, if it's a $500,000 to $1 million client, I'm definitely involved. I'm not doing the work, but I'm there. I'm connected. The 4th thing, and kind of this is the sales point thing, a big thing that I should be doing is casting vision for the organization, the mindset and the vision. So one of the big things I always try to do with the sales team is the vision of, why do you work here? Where are we going? What's this $100 million goal? What does that mean for your family? What does that mean for your future? Oh my gosh, look at this opportunity. Look at the field that we can sell into. Look at this huge TAM. Constantly setting that bar and that excitement of that opportunity. That's a big part of the job for the sales team now, is cheerleading them, supporting them, encouraging them, not managing them, but encouraging them. And then, oh my gosh, guys, look at the opportunity. Salespeople get really excited about the opportunity to sell and make tons of
I love that you have those 4 things. You seem like you have processes built, or at least in your head, that you like everybody to follow. You seem to follow a process. You just described, what your process or your goals or your roles. Do you have all of these things built out? Do you encourage others to, what is your process for doing this? Do you push that down to other people in your organization to have them understand what that is, or do you dictate that themselves? I'm curious how you pull that off.
I'll just be honest. So as we've grown from 0 to about 10 million in revenue, we have kind of taken the approach of hire good people and let them run autonomously, just kind of how we've gotten to where we are now. I was on a mastermind call. I'm in an agency mastermind. It's all like CEOs and owners of agencies that are kind of, 7, 8, 9 figures. I don't know if there's any 9-figure agencies, 7 and 8-figure agencies. And they had a guy come on who runs an agency. They're $80 million agencies, so they're 8 times our size. And his level of sophistication was dramatically higher than mine. It was impressive. It was like, oh my gosh, this guy is at a whole nother level. This whole idea of iron sharpening iron, this is why we have to always be around people above our level. They sharpen us, and then we have to help people below our level and sharpen them. But listening to this guy, one thing that I was encouraged with was they have SOPs for everything. Everything was defined, standard operating procedure, SLAs. This is how you do it. It's like so clearly defined so that there's just no confusion and no, how many calls should I run every day as an account manager? The day you started, you're going to run this many calls on these days, like all predetermined. Like, wow, that's so good. But people don't have to figure it out. I guess the short answer, Sean, is we've been getting better at that as we're growing. But for me, what we're doing now across our organization to get to the next level, because our goal is to double from 10 to 20 million. The next goal is SOPs and clear documented plans for everything in the organization. Every job, every role, every process, everything's spelled out. So that's how we're doing it. On the sales side specifically, because I know it's what we talk about, that's actually, and I'll say this for business owners, when we started Helium, I think the first or second hire was a salesperson. And to do the sales hire effectively, I looked at it and said, what do we need to start to scale sales? What tools do we need? We need Zoom Info. We need a CRM software like a Salesforce. We used close.com at the beginning where we could do cold emailing and dialing right out of. We need script. So I have to think about what's the sales script, what's the phone script, what's the discovery call script, what's the proposal process. Like all that has to be pre-filled out so that when my sales rep starts, I can say, here's the entire process from soup to nuts. We had always done that and we still have, so that when a new salesperson joins, it's the entire thing is completely planned in advance. And I built it because I knew exactly what it should be because I already owned companies and I had the process. If you own a business and you're not sure, get with a consultant like a Sean or a Kevin and build that out. Don't just wing it, because good salespeople won't join your company if they know you're winging it because they don't want to fail. They don't want really crappy tools. And if you have it really defined, they're going to be more successful and you're going to get better reps to join who are going to be happy to see that you have this perfectly well thought out process that's actually proven to work.
That's fantastic. I'm going to steal Kevin's line before he gets the chance to say it. Kevin likes to say, if you don't have a repeatable sales process, you don't have a repeatable sales process.
Yeah.
I probably screwed that up, Kevin.
No, that was great. That was great. But Tim, I wanted to dig in. There's something you pointed to when you were talking about the CEO role as the architect and also the vision setter. I'd love to dig into your mind in these last couple of minutes and just get your insight on how you drew a heavy, bold line between that architecting, not just the business, but also the culture. Because when you talked about attracting great talent because of processes, lean into that with your words and tell me where it is and where it's going.
That's a lot to unpack in 2 minutes. When we hire at Helium, we always tell people it's two wheels on the bicycle. There's core values, and then there's our scorecard for each role. Those are the two things. We have 7 core values. They start with extraordinary service. We have proactivity. It is to be, it's up to me. Responsive communication, under promise, over deliver. Achieve the North Star, which is basically achieve the goal the client hired us to do. We have these North Stars that say, this is who we are as people. They're not aspirational. This is who we are today. And so if this is not you, don't come work here. You won't fit our culture. You won't like it and we won't like you. It's cult. The word culture includes the word cult. Like it should be kind of a cult to work here. Cameron Harold told me that your company should be a little bit more than a business and a little bit less than a religion. It should be in that line. That's a really good way to describe it. Like the Zappos of the world. Zappos had such a strong culture. People really wanted to work there. It was a little bit less than a religion, but more than a business. I don't think we've mastered that at Helium yet. I don't think we're there. I really aspire to build towards that. You have the culture, which comes from core values. And then you have scorecard, which defines what the person's role is supposed to do. Whether it's director of marketing, recruiter, coffee intern, or lead salesperson, the scorecard should define in the next 12 months, what 3 to 5 smart goals are you going to deliver at our organization that will make your job a profitable addition for Helium. That's what the scorecard does. So when it comes to architecting the team and processing, connecting all the dots together, when you do those two things is if you hire according to core values, you'll make sure the culture matches what you want the culture to be. If you think about if you take anyone out of the company and quickly analyze how well do they match our company culture, it should be how well do they match our core values. And if they are totally different than this other guy over here, but they both live the core values, then those people match the culture. And then the scorecard just basically tells you, here's how good they are at actually doing their job. To tie that all together back to architecting and culture and all of that, I think to try to keep culture in line is making sure you pick the right core values that are deeply foundational, and then being really strict with the core values. When people don't live the values, sitting them down, talking to them about that, eventually parting ways with people who aren't going to live the values, letting the rest of the team know why you parted ways with them because of core values, which makes people really care about it more. Oh, wow, I didn't know that so-and-so really didn't believe in this value. And so that's why we parted ways. Like, ooh, that's good to know. All that stuff helps. And then, of course, promoting and praising when people live the values. There's the carrot, there's the stick. The carrot, of course, is always better. It's not a perfect answer to all of those, but that's how we think about it.
I think you set it up really well, Tim, and I really do appreciate it. We're now at the end of our time for this podcast. You've been great. You've been very gracious with your time. Thank you for being on 2 podcasts in a row. We really appreciate that. I have this gut feel that there are people out there that are going to be listening to Tim and say, I need to learn from Tim some more. I need to talk to Tim either as a CEO, maybe they want to be your client, maybe they just want to talk over some of their culture problems that they're having. And I bet that there's some salespeople out there. I want to go work for that company because that sounds like an environment that I could really be successful in. So, Tim, tell us high level, how do we get a hold of you? How can people reach out and say hello? What are you open to? All this kind of good stuff.
Sounds great. Thanks, Sean. Send me an email. My email is just tim@helium-seo.com. You can also just Google heliumseo.com. You can come through and fill out our contact form if you want. You can go to my LinkedIn if you just look up Tim Warren Helium SEO. You'll find my LinkedIn. I've got my contact information on there. Feel free to send me a LinkedIn message as well. if you do send me a direct message, just let me know this podcast. I get a million LinkedIn messages, so many of which are spam. If you reference this podcast, I'll happily see it and respond. So in terms of sales, we're always hiring. We are hiring salespeople. We are looking to grow our sales team to about 3 to 4 times the size it is currently in the next 2 to 3 years. Please, if you're in sales and you're looking for opportunities, reach out. We'd love to talk to you. We're always growing. And if you, in terms of client opportunities, if you guys have any interest in Helium, there's no commitment to talk to one of our sales reps. We start by looking at your site, looking at your competitors, analyzing everything, giving you all of the analysis for free. That's how we build trust with clients. At the very least, if you want us to take a look, it doesn't cost you anything except your time.
Thank you. And in the show notes, I'll actually put your LinkedIn profile as well. So if you're
That'd be
listening to this on a podcast player, scroll down to your show notes. You'll see Tim's link there. Thank you very much.
And feel free to put my email too. I'd love to connect with people via email. If you liked the show, happy to talk that way too.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for everybody out there in listener land for listening to Tim Warren as he shares a lot of amazing content. I think that, Tim, we could probably talk to you for a couple hours at a time. We'd love to have you come back sometime in the future. We'll do this again. There's a lot of content that you hinted on a little bit that I'm sure our listeners would love to hear more about. So maybe we can set up a time in the future and we can make this happen again.
Would love to. That'd be fantastic.
Thank you very much for joining us on this podcast of Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. We hope that we were able to share some valuable insight, valuable knowledge with you to make your selling adventures easier and more successful. Please join us every week. We drop these on Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Please subscribe to us in your favorite podcast player. Also, please join us on LinkedIn, where we do a CEO workshop, and that CEO workshop is dedicated monthly to big questions that CEOs are having and how to grow their business and drive sales. You can find us on LinkedIn. Just search for Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. Thank you very much. Have a great day.